This is Laura with Potpourri of Life. I hope that you're doing great. Tonight, if you hear a lot of booms and bangs, we have a thunderstorm coming in. So far, we haven't got much for rain, and I'm kind of hoping that we do, so it'll cool it off. When I brought the chickens in tonight, you could feel that they were really hot. And they've had plenty of water. I filled their big water container inside their coop as well as outside, and they're hot. You can feel the heat on them. So I'm praying that we get a nice breeze. Their window is open. It's a window that opens within the coop. So, and the coop is pretty well secure, so hopefully they will get a nice airflow tonight. I would have loved to open their door as well, but I just don't trust the animals that come through our yard, and I care about our chickens. So what I want to share with you is the things that we do for the cold flu winter season. And it's September, so Dave and I I like to have on hand items so that when we get a headache or when we get congested or when we have all those aches and pains, if we get them, I'd like to be ready for them. So what do I have on hand? Let's go with headaches. My husband's favorite go-to for migraines is Excedrin. We both do have prescription medications, and I'm not a big fan of Excedrin. And I'll tell you why, especially their migraine one. One reason is I don't like the added chemicals, but you know what? The product does work. So if you need it, it works for you. The other thing is, because it says migraine, it doesn't mean that you can't get that other Excedrin regular, because it has the same amount of those ingredients. The only reason I have a box that says Excedrin is I got a really good price on it. So, and I wouldn't normally buy it, but the price was pretty good. So that's how I shop, is I keep an eye out for prices. So for things that my husband prefers to have on hand, plus if he has some on hand at work and somebody has a migraine, somebody who's not into herbal medicine is much more comfortable with an over-the-counter brand, even if it's a store brand. They don't understand herbs and stuff. So we try to have things on that they're comfortable with. So if we had somebody, they come up with a migraine, I got something that they'll trust. And my husband trusts my herbal remedies. He's getting really good about that. But he likes to have that on hand. Now let me tell you what else I do for migraines. We try to stay away from using the pharmaceuticals. Yes, we both have migraine type medicines. And most especially if I get the nausea that goes along with it, I take the prescription, because I need that to offset that migraine. And within a half an hour, I go lay down, and within a half an hour to an hour, I'm awake and my migraine is gone and I don't feel sick anymore. And one thing that you want to make sure that you're always doing when you're getting headaches is drink water. And that will also help too, because sometimes we get headaches because we're dehydrated. But we get migraines from stress, we get headaches from all kinds of stuff. So that's why we have that. So the other one I have is, this is a natural product. It's a migraine for men and women. It's homeopathic. I've been using this for about 4 years. I haven't been getting migraines for a while now, because when I was really dealing with Lyme disease, I was getting migraines all the time. But there's been a lot of changes that I've done for my body, so I'm not using migraine medicine much, but I did prefer this brand. It is Natural Care Migraine, and it's a homeopathic medication. So if I opened this up and somebody was here and they wanted something homeopathic and wasn't quite sure on the herbs, this is something I would offer them. The other migraine, this is new to us, but I do like Highlands. I find that they're a very reliable company, and they provide very homeopathic options for you if you're not into herbs. So this one I got, it's no Tylenol, no ibuprofen, no known drug interactions, no caffeine. A lot of times your migraine medicine has a lot of caffeine in it. So my husband has a hard time taking the Excedrin at night before he goes to bed if he comes home and he has a super migraine or something. So he prefers to have something that it's not going to be that way. The medication he has prescribed does not have caffeine in it that we know of, because he takes it and he's out cold. So, but this one I liked because it doesn't have the caffeine in it. And yes, we both drink coffee, but we're trying to limit how much we drink. So this helps. So this is from Hylands, Hylands, and it's migraine relief. So this is a new one I picked up this year, so I'm kind of hoping it works. So that is an option as well. The other option that I have for headaches, this is my bee balm that I have grown, and I grow it every single year, and I harvest it all the time, and I still have some more to that's still drying. And let me see if I can. I was going to bring another in, but I didn't, because I have another that shows that it hasn't been put through the coffee grinder yet. This here has been put through the coffee grinder. It has the leaves and the flowers, and if I open it, I'll be so happy, because the smell of bee balm is wonderful. I visited somebody this past week. We went over and brought a gift over for them, and I was like looking at, she has echinacea, she has bee balm, she has all this stuff, and I'm like, I want to harvest all this stuff, because she doesn't harvest them, and I'm just like, I'm looking at it, it's medicine, 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 but that's her yard. I just didn't feel it was appropriate when we were visiting to drop off a gift to harvest all her herbs there. So I use bee balm in conjunction with chamomile, and this is something that I grow as well. So what I do is I take the chamomile flowers, I don't take the leaves, and I just dry them, and they just kind of shrivel up a little bit. I combine the two, and the reason that I combine the two is because they both have, like, the bee balm has a bunch of medicinal values, but the bee balm helps with the migraines or the headaches, and then the chamomile is the calming effect. I use chamomile in a lot of different things, and there's a treatment that I'm trying to get so I don't have to always reach out to my doctor for something. So I'm working on it, and I think I've got it. It's working so far, so we'll see. But that has nothing to do with the flu. But I use chamomile in many things because of the calmness that it has. It calms any spasms if you have them. It calms, it allows you to go to sleep. And that's what I like about this one, because when I make a bee balm, because sometimes I'll wake up at like 2 in the morning and I've got a headache, I will make a nice tea, put a little bit of honey in it. I don't actually need honey with this, but I'll sit down and I'll just drink it. And I'll put some low-key music on and just sit back and allow the tea to do its thing. And within a half an hour, I'm exhausted and I'm able to go back to bed without a problem. So that's why I use it. Now, do you need to grow your own dry herbs? No, you can actually purchase them, but you can also get teas that are already like this. But make sure that your branded tea is pure, because there's a lot of no names and all that kind of stuff where I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but some herbal teas actually have an additive called sawdust. And so you really want to make sure you have a good quality tea. And there's quite a few that are good. So that's for headaches. Now, I wanted to share with you, and I might come across some other things too. Another thing that you might find helpful during this flu season is we get congested, or we're sneezing, or allergies. The allergies right now, because we're working in the yard, raking and stuff, we'll find ourselves kind of like sneezing. When I work with my herbs, because there's so many of them, I'll open the jars and I'll be working on stuff, and then after a while it's a lot, because these jars are full, and that's just what happens to me. But I can still use them. There's very few herbs that I cannot use in a tea form. But because we get congested, one of the things I use is a sinus rinse with my little neti pot. It's not fancy, it's plastic, and I'd like to do away with plastic, but this is what I've had. We clean it, we use it, and we've had it for a number of years, and I think it would be silly to just toss it. Someday I'll get a nice porcelain one, but for right now, this works, and I'm not worried about it. And my husband uses it, and I use it. So even though this is the name brand, you don't have to buy the name brand. I found this at a good deal, and folks, I can't tell you when the sales are going to be, but you can use that one. So that's the Neil Med, and that's you can make your own sinus rinse. Do you know why I like this? Because when I'm congested, I don't want to be measuring things, but I think I could make some and just kind of have like a 1/4 teaspoon in there, and that would work too. So, and I'm not giving you the recipe right now because I don't have it in front of me. but there is a recipe I could share with you. Now, say you don't want to buy the name brand. This here I got from Walmart last year. This is the Equate brand, and it comes in a little saline packet like that. And you do the same thing. You open it up, you put it into your neti pot, and then you fill. There's a line on your neti pot that actually tells you where to fill it up with water. Now, some people might boil their water. Some people might use their tap water. I like to use my filtered water. So I will just put a little bit in a tea kettle and I will just get it warmed up. But I wait until it's cooled down a little bit, and then, because I don't want to burn my nose, and that's not comfortable, and you don't want it too cold, you want it to work, so you want a warm solution. And you just take this and you put it in a nostril, and I do half on one side, half on the other. After I do one side, you're going to have all kinds of gunk coming out, and it's clearing that out. Does this solve all your sinus issues? No, but you'll start feeling better and you'll be able to breathe. So if you wake up in the middle of the night and you're having trouble breathing because there's a lot of gunk up there, this might be a help, most especially if you've already taken a medication or an over-the-counter product that has helped with that congestion. So I highly recommend having a neti pot. And when I got this, it was a long time ago. I would say maybe 10, 12 years ago. And it's in great shape. I'm not going to go out and buy a new one right now because it's in good shape. Now, if it wasn't in good shape, I would have replaced it long before now. But it's held its quality up to this point. And I bought the cheapest one because I couldn't justify spending a lot of money then. And now I'm looking at prices and like, yeah, I can't justify it either. So another thing that we do. Now, one of the things with the Lyme disease that I have, one of the things that I have that helps me is thyme and oregano. They're antibacterial, they're really healthy herbs. So you can get these fresh generally in the grocery store. I would recommend that you grow it if you can, because then it's fresh in a pot. If you have a window in your house that you can have your thyme and oregano, that is awesome. If you're not feeling good, it doesn't mean you have to have a bacterial, but people with Lyme disease, this is really a good tea. And say you have something else going on, you can do this with the thyme and the oregano. This here is some thyme, and I have more coming in, so that's a really good thing. So what I do is I put a teaspoon of both into a tea strainer or a tea bag, and I put it in there and I let it steep for 3-5 minutes, and then I drink it. I don't need honey or sugar or anything like that, but you can put a little bit. David will put, like, I have some stevia drops, and let's see. This is a company, K-A-L, Cal. This is a good quality brand, and it's the stevia drops. Why do I have stevia drops? And I have some in the process of being made, but I always like to have extra on hand because I didn't realize it, but my husband has been putting 2 to 4 drops into his tea when he gets home because he has a respiratory blend tea that I made him that allows him to relax his bronchial tubes because he has some allergies at work. So he comes home and he has that. So stevia drops or stevia powder, and when you do get the stevia sugar, please make sure that it is green because that is actual stevia. You can grow your own stevia. That's what I do. That doesn't mean you have to. That's just something because I've used it for so long. They also did a study for Lyme patients on this at the University of New Haven in Connecticut that said that stevia drops works to help to kill that outer crust around the bacterium. Does it work? Maybe that's why I'm doing so well, because I put 2 to 4 drops into my cup of coffee every morning. Now, you have that as a sweetener, but you can do honey. You can use organic sugar. If you are not into organic stuff, you can have a little bit of sugar, but be careful not to overdo the sugar. That's my only thing. Now, my husband with his respiratory stuff, I made him, and I didn't put the ingredients on it. I am so sorry. But I make him a respiratory blend tea, and it has about 6 or 8 different herbs in it. And if you saw back, I did do a video on it a while back, this past spring, I believe. And he asked me, he goes, Laura, would you make me something? I looked at him, I said, honey, you don't keep taking the things. I'm going to spend time making you something, you're not going to use it. And I did. I did that mother thing. Yep, I do that with my husband once in a while. I said, I will make you something, but you got to promise me that you're going to use it. And so he does. And he drinks a cup of this most nights after work. He doesn't on the weekend if he's not working. So that's pretty good. So he has a spoon in there. He puts that in a tea bag, and then he puts the stevia in. So this is a respiratory thing that helps with him with his allergies. But if he has the flu or anything like that, this comes in handy then too, because I've used it when I've had a cold and stuff like that. So I will try to remember to link that to that video so you can see that. Another thing that I do is I make a tea blend. It's immune tea blend that I make. I created this a couple of years back. And what it has in this, and I use it for my Lyme too, it has oregano, thyme, rosemary, lemon balm, olive leaf, and hibiscus. Sometimes I add in some other herbs and stuff, and it looks like I need to make some more. But I drink this as well. You know, if I'm just kind of like just starting to not feel great, I'll take a drink of this and I'll have some of the honey that is being infused. Like this is my garlic infused honey, and I'll take some of that honey out of there and I'll stir that together, and then I have a nice tea that will help build up my immune system. And this is not when I'm full blown in the flu mode. This is just something that helps there. Now, this just helps. So again, those ingredients are oregano, thyme, rosemary, lemon balm, olive leaf, and hibiscus. Now, if you don't have hibiscus or olive leaf, even those other 4 will actually be helpful for your immune system, and it will calm things down. And drinking a warm cup of tea is very beneficial and relaxing. So this is for the immune system. So I have that here, and as you can see, I have a variety of herbs here. Let's see, the other thing that I wanted to share with you is I also have, along with the thyme, I just brought this in from outside. This is the oregano. So I have to take the flowers and petals and all that stuff off and just put it into, it'll take up less room because I don't need the stems. But say I wanted an oregano tea, I can just put that right in there, and then everything's all compacted and I don't have to worry about straining it or anything. So that is something that you can do. One of the things we do for pain, my husband and I, sorry about that, my battery died, and I actually purchased some extra batteries so I wouldn't have to be getting the plug out and all that. So anyways, to continue, for pain stuff that we are dealing with, I mean, we try to be young, we try to pretend we're still 26, but that's not true. So some of the things we use for pain is we have, I have turmeric with pepperine. I have done a video on this. I've done a couple of them on turmeric. I find it to be a very handy thing to have on hand. Now I can make I forgot what they call it. I can make a milk blend, warm up some milk, and I would use soy milk or whatever milk you want. Please don't criticize me because I use soy milk. I use oat milk at times too. David uses regular milk. And we just put a little bit of this in, like a tablespoon. It's quite a bit, and it's a very, you need to put some honey in. And I put vanilla in, homemade vanilla, and I put some other things in, and it's like, it's golden milk. And it's just, it's a very healing thing for when you have severe pain. But because sometimes we just don't have the time to make that, I make capsules, turmeric capsules. My husband and I take 2 every morning. When we have more pain or we're lifting a lot of things, and this is something that I use. And I also have, this is valerian root. This is something I have made from valerian powder. I make my own capsules, and I don't necessarily like the smell. Some people like it. I find it offensive. I'm getting used to it. I've been taking this for a long time. This is like a last resort, and I love valerian root because I can take it and I can go to bed and I sleep really well. Now you'll see a prescription bottle in here, which I have not used in a long time. I went to the hospital a year or two ago, and I was having horrible, horrible back spasms that I could not get out of the car. And I did not like that experience at the hospital, and I again went like a few months later too. And the experience was not great because they do a few things, but they don't really do anything because they can't give you pain meds and all that. But they did send me home with this diazepam, and I was supposed to apparently go to a pharmacy that was like around there, and here I am in pain. You want me to go in? I didn't. Then they ended up, and the pharmacy is part of the hospital, and so they actually called me and said, we want to send it to you. I said, how much is that going to cost? They said nothing because it's going to be covered by the insurance company. I said, that's fine. So they sent it. I haven't used that because the valerian root works really great, and I really try to stay away from pharmaceuticals, but I haven't gotten rid of this bottle, and the reason is sometimes we need pharmaceuticals. And I don't ask my doctors for pain meds because I really don't want to. I want to try to deal with these things on my own. So I have, for pain, I have turmeric. And if I do this twice a day when my spasms are really bad in my back, it does help. This is for the emergency, like when my husband and I have done too much work. And that's something that we have been doing, but just too much work. But you can also need pain relief when you're not feeling good during the cold flu season. And if you are like us, if you're a homesteader or if you're a prepper, if you are working hard or you work with weights and you're getting older, you can be young and still need pain relief. These are two natural things that you can get. Can you get turmeric with pepperine at the pharmacies? I believe you can. I have heard that they're out there. Just make sure that you only have pepperine and turmeric in there. That's all you want in it. You don't want additives. If you can't pronounce it, you don't want it. So those are some pain things. And let's see. The other thing that I have, now I do make an ointment, and I do have a video on that, a magnesium ointment that I make. I use magnesium flakes, and I make an ointment that I put like if Charlie horses in your legs, or you just get really sore cramps in your shoulders. That works. This is another thing that I picked up. It's Epsom salt rub. Long time ago I had one. I couldn't find the product, but I found this. This is by Procure, Procure. And because the other one I couldn't find anymore, I bought two of these. We don't use this very often because I like the product that I make, but this is handy. You can throw it into your car, and it's there for you if you know you're going to be going camping, or if you have to do some major hiking, or if you have to bug out. You want something that you can rub on your muscles at the end of the day. And those of you who don't like homeopathic things of making your own, this works. And I know my stuff works because I've given it to a few of David's coworkers, and they love it. So this is something that I do recommend. So that's just for pain stuff, because when we're sick, we do have a tendency to get aches and pains. Let me see, I want to go on to some other things. Now, I am going to, my friends in the homesteader groups and stuff like that, do not be mad at me. When we are sick, we sometimes spread a lot of cooties. Now, I realized that 3 years ago, the big thing was on the masks and stuff. How do I feel about it is mixed. I don't feel like I need to wear a mask going everywhere. But if I am taking care of my husband, or he's taking care of me, I have masks on hand. And no, I don't wear the medical grade ones, because those are for surgeries and stuff like that. I made a ton of these, and this is what I do. There are 3 layers. This is what I use. You use yourself. Now, do I use these much? Obviously not. I made a bunch, and I have some on hand. And the onset of the world having issues, I did wear them at my doctor appointments. because they required them. Now, they required that I wore the surgical mask, and no matter how much I said, the surgical masks are not going to protect us from viruses. Now, there's a lot of controversy on there, but there is some documentation out there that it's not designed for that. And so I wore this because the masks that they hand you, they caused my face to break out. I'm 63 years old, and when this all started, I was in early 60s, and I'm like, I'm too old to have acne. So I couldn't. So I would wear this, and then I would wear their requirement, and I could barely breathe. But, I was trying to respect my care providers because they had to wear them. So do I have masks on hand? Yes. But the only time I wear them at this juncture, and we haven't had to, my husband and I kind of like just regular colds, we don't worry about it because it's just going to build our immune system if it's stuff that's minor. But if he's really sick or I'm really sick, the person caring for us, for me, if I'm caring for him, I will wear a mask because I really want to protect myself from whatever it is if it's not your normal flu, cold type thing. So that's why I kept them. And there is nothing wrong with that. And it's not a political thing in terms of how I'm using them. So there's just a lot of controversy, and there's a lot of stuff going on in our world, and there's some things that we have to decide, what battle do you want to face? Now, do I want to wear a mask when I go to the grocery store? No. Do I want to wear a mask when I go to different places? No. But I also go at a time where it's not really crowded. And so I'm just kind of like, I don't know. So I still have them on hand if I need them, but we don't plan on getting sick. But for those of you who prefer to have a mask on hand, make sure you have a few. So if a family member is really, really sick, or you have a family member that has cancer or any other disease that's real where they're immune compromised, please wear a mask around them, because I think that's really important, because that's you showing them respect and it's showing them compassion. And that's the same thing when I go into a healthcare facility and it's a requirement, it's showing them respect. So, but that's another topic, but still, that's why I have the mask on hand, because I think it is good to have on hand. Just try not to get sick. Try not to see the doctors if you don't have to. Now, some other things. Now, I make an elderberry syrup, and right now I don't have any on hand, but I will be. One of the things I do have on hand, though, and I bought these as backup, is I have a regular black elderberry syrup, which is what I make. I have a nighttime one, too. These are backups. But you know what? There are people out there that will not make their own elderberry syrup because they don't have access to the elderberries. They don't want to take the time. Do I think that's horrible? No. But the Gaia brand is a good brand, and I do recommend it. And no, I'm not making any commission on any of these products. These are products that we do use. So if you are not able to get elderberry syrup, or somebody makes it and you have no access to that person who makes it, this is a brand that you can go and pick up, and I believe that it works really well. They do have a child's kind too. I don't, because the kids, when they're sick, they don't come to visit us. So these are our grandchildren. So I'm not worried about that. This is just for David and I, and it's a backup because I will be making elderberry syrup probably mid to late September. And I'm kind of hoping we don't need it, but what we do is we take elderberry syrup, we take a teaspoon every single morning, and we pray that we make it through the cold flu season. So that's something that we use. Let's see. One thing that I have on hand, and it's for my husband, because sometimes I eat more vegetables than he does, and so we eat different. He still eats the food that I make, and I just kind of like, sometimes it's just like, honey, you're not eating right. Like he goes to work and he grabs this and that. So I recommend during the cold flu season to have a nice quality multivitamin. This is a Man's Everyday multivitamin. I'm not a proponent for vitamins at all, but I sometimes see when he starts getting lazy that you need a multivitamin. So I ask him to take this, and he does. And actually, that's his preference because he doesn't want me nagging him. And I don't eat a lot of carbs, like cereals and stuff like that, and he does. And my personal opinion about that he and I don't always agree on everything. And that's the cool thing about our marriage. We don't have to agree on everything because I mean, I do like him to be healthy and I do make recommendations, but I have to come to him with why. And that's not because he is rebelling, it's just that he sees this very differently, and he's kind of turning a point where he's making a turning point where it's like he's starting to see more and more. And I've been doing this for years, but he's starting to see the value. So I keep a box of multivitamins on hand for him so that I know that he's getting all his necessary vitamins. And plus, he works outside the house, and I don't know if he's around people who are ill. It's just, to me, it's just an immune booster. Now, a lot of people, and my feelings too, is that if you eat healthy, you should not need a multivitamin. I strongly believe that, but not everybody does. And that's why I have this on hand, because sometimes I see that he's not eating well because there'll be days where he's just not hungry. He'll go days without eating, just maybe a half a sandwich, and that's usually because of tension and stress or something like that. And that happened a lot while we were cleaning the estate out. So that is something that I keep on hand for him. So, and I think he's still taking them now. So if you're one who doesn't eat well, please take a multivitamin, especially if you're eating all processed foods. Now, something else that I put on my shelves. These are cough syrups. Now, this is by the Boron brand, and I love this brand because I use a lot of their stuff. These are just extra cough syrups so that if he's having a lot of, either of us, having a lot of cough, one is just for, it's a non-drowsy, dye-free, no drug interactions, it's just a cough syrup. The other one has honey in it, and it's made with premium Acacia honey, and it's for day and night relief, and it's non-drowsy. So this is just something so that he can get the relief in his throat, and myself, if necessary. And I like it because it's homeopathic. Now, I would prefer to do other homeopathic from herbs and stuff, but sometimes when you're not feeling well, you want something like that. Now, David and I rarely get the flu, and when we do, we don't really take medications to get rid of it. And I found this product, and I kind of like it. It's Genetics, and I just found it a couple weeks ago. So I picked it up. It helps with body aches and headaches, fever, chills and fatigue, congestion, and sore throat. It's an organic flu formula, and it's non-drowsy. So if you're feeling under the weather or something, but you're not feeling great to go to work, and you really shouldn't go to work if you have the flu because we don't want you to spread it, but I certainly understand that there are some jobs out there that you still need to work. So just do your best to stay away from other people. If you are sick, preferably stay home. That is my recommendation. Again, I am not a doctor. I'm just a wife, a mom, and I just prefer to see people healthy and happy, and we can do our best to stay away from people. But I got this because sometimes when you get the flu, you just want it to kick out. Now this one, you only use it for like a few days. You don't use it for very long. Yeah, after 2 days, you might want to consult with your physician. So, and usually if I get the flu, I might have it for about a week or those type of symptoms. I don't take anything for it. But, there were times where it's like, if I had something, I don't know if this will work, but I liked that it was homeopathic, and I kind of like all the ingredients in it. So look it up online, Genetics, otherwise I'm going to be here all day. I probably already am. Some of the other things that we do is I keep on hand some throat lozenges. I have one that is called TheraZinc. Zinc is very good for you. I take a zinc tablet starting in September, and I'll take zinc all the way through into the spring because it helps with your immune system. This one here, it's a TheraZinc, and it also has elderberry, and it's supposed to have a raspberry flavor. It tastes kind of chalky, but it does help. So it's just one of those things. Drink water. When you're not feeling well, I'm telling you, drink water. Don't drink a lot of sugar stuff. You can, the electrolyte drinks, you can have those, but make sure they're natural, and you can make your own electrolyte drink. And then I have other throat lozenges. I have a couple of jars of them, mixtures. He likes, some of these are elderberries. There's a lemon. I'm not a big lemon person, but my favorite brand is Ricola. And so what I do is I make sure there's some in my purse. I make sure he has some in his car and stuff like that. Now, one thing that my husband and I do not generally have a problem, and I have not had to use this product, and I don't know how long. And this is what made me wonder, why is everybody getting the toilet paper? But apparently they were having issues. But I ended up getting this box of Pepto-Bismol because these are chewables. So if there is an issue, and it's open because I opened it, not because I bought it that way, it helps with nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, and diarrhea. See, I think of Pepto-Bismol as diarrhea medicine, but it helps with nausea and heartburn and indigestion. But the other thing, so that's on hand, so we can throw it in a first aid kit that goes in the car. The other thing that I use for that is I use George's aloe vera water. This thing has been a lifesaver for both of us. It does help with indigestion. My husband gets that from time to time. I get heartburn once in a while, and that is a godsend. Let's see, it'll help with the nausea. That will help with the heartburn and indigestion. This helps with everything else. And so I tend to go to the George's, and I really like it. And you can get them in little tiny bottles, and you can get them in the gallon size. It is not inexpensive. It can range in price between $28 to $35 depending on where you're getting it. So, but we don't drink that much. I try to drink like a quarter cup every morning. But at night, say we get home late and we're kind of like we're starving and you eat too fast, that does help on that aspect. Now, some other things. Let's see what else I have. This here is something that I've always had on hand, and this is like a flu-like symptom too. So this would go along with this other product. I keep this on hand, and last year my husband used a few of these, and it helps. It's never mind, but it is the boron product. It's homeopathic, it's non-drowsy, no drug interactions, safe for ages 2 and up, works naturally with your body. Now folks, when we talk about the flu and stuff, please keep in mind that your body is fighting a virus. Whether it's the flu, whether it's COVID, no matter what you're fighting, it's a virus. So you are going to have fevers, you're going to feel pretty crappy. And that's why it's really good to rest. Drink plenty of fluids, drink chicken soup or whatever. Actually, chicken broth is really good. Homemade is even better. So those are some things that you can do for yourself. But these are not going to cure the flu. All it's going to do is help the symptoms so that you can at least deal with it and get your rest. So please don't be caught up on realizing, oh, this is just going to take care of it. No, they're just supposed to help relieve some of those symptoms. And sometimes they help really well. Other times it's just able to allow your body to relax and you're not so achy and stuff like that. Let's see, I think I had a few other things. Oh, I mentioned my garlic infused honey. We have a tendency, and this is something I made last year. I have to make some more. I just haven't. Every time I go to get some garlic, it's from another country, and I'm trying to get it locally. So I'm going to go to a local farm that I found, and I'm going to see if they might have some fresh garlic because I wasn't able to grow it. And then I'll make some more. But this here is still left over. I made a couple of jars of this last year, even though it's going a little bit brown, because when you first start, it's nice and clear, and all it is, you fill your jar with garlic. You clean off the garlic, you throw them in there, and you put the honey over it. And I have a video of that as well. And this stuff is awesome. And the garlic tastes great. And like I mentioned earlier, we might take some of the honey out of this and put it into a tea. And it's actually really good. Some other products that we use, some of the things are like Highland brand. I have these little things. You take like 3 to 5 of these. This one here is a Calm formula, which allows you to sleep at night. This one, magnesium phosphate for like pain issues. Let's see, this one here, another simple nervous and tension one. They call it Calms as well, but you can use it during the day. And I have other nerve ones because obviously my husband and I, we get a lot of pain issues. We're so young. And then we have one that is for vomiting and stuff. I only have one of these because we really rarely have that kind of symptom. The other thing that I did this year, and the reason that I did this is because I am making, and I'll do it in a different video, I am making a go-to for little tiny first aid thing in each of our vehicles. But I will not leave them out in the car. They're just something that we take as we go. And so I have a lot of these little doodads. I've got some that, this here is Ledum. This stuff I always try to have plenty on hand because when I have a Lyme symptom, that really helps greatly. This here is some Allergy Calm. The reason I like these type things, look at how small that is. It doesn't take up much room. And so this one here is for nerve pain. I've got some Sambucus nigra. So this, I keep all the labels in there so that we know what they are used for. And this does say what it's used for. Hold on. And I always look at them, and I told this relieves hoarseness with painful cough. And my husband gets a lot of that from the allergies he has at work. And I know I gave him one, so he keeps that with himself. But there's a few other things like Sinus Calm. Even though I have the bigger boxes, I like having these for like, if we're traveling and we need that kind of stuff. And the first aid box that I'll be making, it's just going to be a little compact one that I will show you that you don't have to have a lot. And that's why there's like, some of these have 3 tubes in them. And because I'm going to take one out for each vehicle, and then I'll have one in the house or something like that. Let me take a real quick look here. The only other thing that I recommend is like if you're dealing with something and you have an allergy to something, say you take something just because it's natural. It doesn't mean that it is good for you if you've never had it before. I did have some Benadryl. We like to have Benadryl on hand in the event that you have an allergy response to a medication, whether it's pharmaceutical or not. It's good to have Benadryl on hand. It's rare that we have that kind of thing, and I know what herbs I have an allergy to. But another thing is itch relief. Sometimes you just get kind of itchy and stuff, and you just want to have that relief. Have an ointment on hand for that kind of stuff. Now, I did not show you a lot of my herbal preps because this is more in line for anybody who wants to do things naturally but doesn't have the apothecary to make all their items, or they can't afford all the items that might work. These are some options. But before you go out and buy every single thing that I mentioned, remember, the migraine, we have the extra ones because he gets a lot of migraines. But typically, and I used to get migraines all the time, and they're horrible. But like the cough stuff, we only have 2 bottles of this. My elderberry syrup should be fine, but it's nice to have something on hand. The flu stuff, I hope not to have to open this, but it's on hand, and it does have an expiration date of 2026. So we have a few years to use that if needed, and they'll tell you as long as you keep your medications in a dark, cool spot, you can usually keep them longer than the expiration date, but you really have to take care of your medicines. And the same thing when you get a prescription. One of the other things, we both have an inhaler, and one thing that my doctor told me who prescribed it, he said to me, he says, you don't have to worry about an expiration date with your inhaler. It will be good for a very long time. So that's kind of a refreshing thing to hear. So if our allergies are acting up or something like that, or we're hiking or something, we're just like can't breathe, that is something. And I've had to use it like sometimes I've been on a medication and it causes me to have a difficult time breathing. And so it's kind of handy to have that on hand. So if you have an inhaler, make sure you have that. Make sure you have plenty on hand. I don't recommend having more than you need, but yet if you need an extra one, talk to your physician about it and they can make sure that you get an extra one to have on hand. So I think that about covers it. Folks, I want you to have a healthy winter, winter season, a healthy cold flu season, but viruses come. Viruses will appear and we're not ready for them. So I just want you to remain healthy and do your best. But I do recommend that right now, watch the sales. Now I've been watching sales since the spring, and that's how I work. I pre-season, like the cold and flu season, I start watching for those things and I take an inventory of what's in the house. And then I say, okay, we'll do this, it's on sale. That's how I shop. But you don't need to have a bunch of stuff unless you have a big family. And so that's something that you can have on hand. And I know there's a ton of other things that I can suggest, but this is a lot. There's some things that you can do yourself, honey and garlic. That's works really good. You might not need any of this stuff, but I keep it on hand because I just think that more so for my husband, because he's comfortable with those things. But he does use my homemade teas, he does a lot of stuff like that, but not everybody will. And that's why I wanted to present these to you so you could see what's out there. Now the two brands that I really enjoy, the homeopathic ones, are Hyland, Hyland, and the other one is Boiron, Boiron. I love their products. They're very natural, and I think you'll be comfortable with them. Now, I'm trying to think. Yeah, the other ones, they're just others that I mentioned, but those are most of the products. And teas. And Gaia. Gaia is a great brand, Gaia. Gaia. I just find that I used their products before and I'm very happy. My massage therapist, she uses that syrup all the time. And when her daughter wasn't feeling good, she would say, Mom, can I have some of that syrup? And you know what? Even if you have a little bit of elderberry syrup and you're not, because she's mentioned once that she thought that her daughter just liked the flavor of it, it's tasty. It's not going to hurt you to have elderberry syrup, to have a little bit every day. And we have it from September on. Well, I have to make it. Once the cold flu season is here, we take it every morning. And I take that and I take the garlic and honey and I drink teas. So that's how I try to keep my immune system going. The time that I get sick is usually when I've been around somebody who's been sick. So I'm trying to keep David healthy. But I have gone to a place, and one time I went to a kid's birthday party, and I didn't know until an hour after we were there, the mom said to us that her kids had been sick that morning. And I'm like, Lord Almighty, within 5 days, I was sick. And I hadn't been that sick with the flu in a long time. So folks, that's the other thing I request. If you are sick or your children are sick, be kind to other people. There will always be parties. There will always be gatherings. I think it's just important for us to be kind. You can hide the symptoms with a drug, or a remedy, but it's really unkind to go out and share that unless you absolutely have to go. And that's where I just recommend, just be kind to other people. If you have food in the house, which I always recommend, have at least a week's worth of food extra in your home. So if you're not feeling good, you have those products on hand. I will, in a future video, talk about stocking shelves, and I will be sharing more on herbal stuff, but I think this has gone on a while, so I want to end it. But I hope this was good information. I hope it was helpful for you in that you are thinking about this cold flu season coming in, and they're talking a lot about a new COVID type thing. I don't have any feedback on my feelings on this because I refuse to talk about that kind of stuff here online, but I do think that we're always going to be exposed to viruses, and it's up to us to keep our immune system strong. It's up to us to eat healthy and try to stay away from the processed foods. Folks, those processed foods are making you weak. So you do what you have to do what you want to do, but I do recommend that you try to avoid that. Folks, I care about you, And I hope that this was informative, and I hope that God blesses you. Actually, I pray that God blesses